when y'all went down there, what was your favorite memory of visiting your grandparents in Pilottown?
That was my favorite childhood memories. During the summers, we would go for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, as often as we could, and
I'd go for the whole summer.
Yeah. Well, I would have stayed
until I
for
was
the whole
older.
summer.
Until we were older, and then started working at the pool. But yeah, I'd call them up and say I'm coming, and I'd go. Linda and I would go for the whole summer. We just loved it down there. We'd put peaches up and pears.
Yes, figs. Big time
preserving
figs.
them?
Yeah, preserved figs.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my grandmother had fig trees all over, and we would also, my favorite memories are helping Papa salt down the alligator skins. Mm-hmm. He would skin them in the bayou, and then he'd take, put the skins, I guess, in a barrel, and then he'd get home and unroll them and sprinkle them with rock salt, I think. And then roll them up, put them in the barrel, and take them to sell them. And that was to preserve the skins. And then nutrias and mink, and he would stretch on these stretchers to dry out the skins, and we would help him put them out along the boardwalk which was all around the house.
Yeah, at times of the year, the river was actually in their yard, so there was no cement walkways or anything else like that. They had elevated wooden walkways.
Do you remember how long a year that would be? Like
the spring. All spring.
All the spring.
Yeah.
When the river rises here in the New Orleans area, and they worried about the flooding, you know, when and that's the same thing they had down at the mouth of the river. Was, you know, the river would actually come into their yard, and you could catch crawfish off the boardwalks.
Right out of your back door.
You could just go out there and catch some crawfish.
Yeah. But I remember the skins, and then we'd have to watch for the rain, because if it was going to rain, then we'd have to run out and pull the skins up, pull the racks up and go put them in the shed so they wouldn't get wet. And my favorite memory of Pilottown was my grandfather hunted alligators and ducks and fished and everything for a living, whatever he could hunt and sell. And my favorite memory is the alligator he brought home. I don't know if you were there. Kathy and I were there, and because we were the same age. And he brought home a live alligator that I guess it was at least 5 or 6 feet long, and he tied it to the fence. And he told us not to go in the yard. And of course, as soon as he left, we did. And we got close to it, and it ran up to us and snapped, but the rope caught it, so it didn't get us. And of course, we were screaming like crazy. And my grandmother, who was a real character, came out to find out what all the commotion was about, and she said, "I'm going to fix Isidore," which was my grandfather. And I came back from the shed with a big hatchet. And when my grandfather came home, that alligator was spread out with an axe down the center of his head. So I will never, that to me is like it happened yesterday. That was so funny.
That was funny. She said it was not going to hiss or chase her grandchildren. And my Papa was like, well, they shouldn't have been in the yard. I told him not to go in the yard. He wanted it to grow a little bit longer for the hide or something. And yeah, well, she said, I fixed it. It's not going to hiss at them anymore. So,
how long did he want to keep it?
I don't know. It might not have been ready to deal with fooling with the hide too. It could have been that he was busy and he wanted to just keep it, alive until he could get to it. I don't remember why he wanted to keep it.
I don't think he had a chance to explain.
No. No.
And my grandmother was a crack shot. There were sometimes snakes in the yard, and she would shoot a snake sticking his head up in the out of the grass. She would shoot his head off. Just go get her gun and shoot his head off from what, 40, 50 yards, I guess. Just unbelievable. And they used to stand on the boardwalk that was, they had boardwalks all around the house. From the shed to the outhouse. We actually had an outhouse. But we actually had an indoor bathroom with no plumbing because there was no running water. But my grandmother had to have a real bathroom. And so,
What about the freezer situation with the ice cream? And did y'all?
well, they had generators. They had electricity, so they had generators that they turned on every morning and turned off at night. And let's see, what was I talking about?
The bathrooms.
Oh, the bathrooms. Yeah, we eventually they got running water, but when we were
Most of the
little,
time it was just cistern water and no sewage. So
we used to keep. My grandmother would keep a bucket in the bathroom, and we'd run water from this cistern to flush the toilet. But we generally went outside in the outhouse. So.
Yeah.
But they had a system of boardwalks all around your house, so you didn't have to go in the grass because the water was over the land.
One thing we thought was really funny about the outhouse was Papa had, they had 7 granddaughters in a 5-year period. So he built a dual seat outhouse. So we thought that we were high cotton because there was 2 of us that could go to the bathroom at the same time.
Oh yeah, that
But
was
after we got older, we were thinking, if that's not stupid, I mean, really.
we were little.
Yeah, we were little, but we thought it was fun when we were little, but as we got older, it wasn't that much fun anymore.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to take a stick and make sure there was no snakes before you'd sit down on the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, we'd take a stick and ring it around and make noise, and then we'd sit down. But it was fun. That was the best time.
Oh, they spoiled us rotten. They were wonderful.
Yeah.
And we'd have to, we lived in Port Sulphur, so we had to drive to Venice, which literally was the end of the road. Highway 23 literally ended at the water, and that's where my grandfather would dock his fishing boat, the Gladys B, and named after my grandmother. And I think B stood for Barrios, but it could have stood for something else, maybe. I don't know.
Because my grandfather was a character.
Yeah, my grandfather wouldn't do that. He was a nice person. Yeah. But anyway, we'd get on the boat, and I don't know how long a drive it was. It seemed forever to get to Pilottown by boat.
Well, it was. I think it's only about 9 miles from Venice, but he had an oyster boat or a fishing boat that we used to call it the slow boat to China. Because it went so slow, and we wanted to get there so bad that it took us forever. But sometimes he'd say he couldn't come get us when I'd call, and by the way, they had a party line in Pilottown.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so everybody knew who was talking to who, and they could pick up and listen to the conversations and everything. But I'd call and say, "Come pick me up. I have some days off from school," and he'd say, "I can't come get you," so we'd go down on the mail boat.